Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome once again to Viewpoint, where we discover every month the secrets of successful entrepreneurs and industry leaders, and I'm hoping give you the tools that you can apply to your own business. We've had some very important and stimulating conversations in the past. I know this one is going to be exactly the same. I'm Jeremy Maggs, and in today's show, we're going to discuss what I think is often an overlooked component in this long and very lonely entrepreneurial journey. What am I talking about? Managing cash flow and expenses. Now, it's all very well to focus on the sexy side of the business, creating products, services, solutions, looking at the whole notion of marketing. That's the front end stuff. And as I say, it can be very, very exciting. Looking for customers, engaging with customers, meeting them for the first time. But entrepreneurs, I would suggest to you, often leave out the crucial crux of planning for what things are really going to cost them. What am I talking about? The money, everybody, and where the money is going to come from, how the money is going to be collected. Most entrepreneurs know the pain, the deep pain of delivering a service and wait for it, and wait for it, and wait for it, having to wait for payment. It can kill you. So we've got two guests here today, and I'm hoping that they are going to help us take the pain away. Our first guest is Nonkululeko Komanyane, who has a background in SME incubation and development, and is blazing a real trail and as the managing partner at Digital Africa Ventures. It's an investment firm that is focused on bridging the funding and support gap for early stage tech entrepreneurs. Folks, it is such an important service that this organization is delivering. And along with her is Relebogile Moatshe, who has a wealth of consulting experience in the business efficiency space, has worked with McKinsey and has also done strategy execution for Nedbank, and is now a director of an organization called Sinati Solutions. It's a management consultancy that focuses on change management, strategy execution, and operational efficiency. I'm looking forward to the conversation, and to both of you, a very warm welcome. Come on, Nonko, I'm going to start with you, and thanks so much for joining us. You've developed a career which is focused on helping, aiding, assisting entrepreneurs, and it seems clear that you have a real mission and a real purpose in this space. What is that purpose when it comes to Digital Africa Ventures?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me. And I think the important thing in starting a new venture is understanding what you're solving for. So when I transitioned from my last role to where I am now, the importance, or what we were trying to solve for, is a gap in the VC ecosystem. You find that you've got a lot of investors focus on Series A, which are typically your big ticket investments, and no one was picking up the investors or the entrepreneurs that required early stage capital to help them grow and scale their businesses so that they can be attractive for those big guys. And that's what we aim to solve, is to be the partner that walks with the entrepreneurs so that once they're ready, they've got partners on the other side.
So that's the background to your organization. Relebogile, welcome to you. Give me the background. What industries do you specialize in, and how has that experience shaped the way in which you've approached your own journey as an entrepreneur?
Thanks, Jeremy. Sinati Solutions is a data-driven and technology-focused consulting firm. So you could say we focus on any industry. The core capability that we leverage off is how do we approach strategy, operations, and all the different themes around how one makes a business successful. So we leverage people in our network, a network of contractors who serve different industries. We're very strong in logistics, mining, transport, financial services. I think the heart of what we're trying to solve for is not serving in the large enterprises. There's a huge gap in serving the mid-caps. There's a lot of management conversations, how to solve their own problems, but they don't know how to get help from external service providers. And they come to us to help them think through their largest and smallest problems. And we said to ourselves, how can we use people who don't have the opportunities to help close the gap in the market?
You know, guys, when I was told that the topic for our conversation today was managing expenses and cash flow, I really was going to put in for a day's leave. And I think that, and I'm half joking about it because I think that a lot of entrepreneurs don't focus on that, and that is critical to immediate and to future success. So Nonku, let's start with you. When you're investing in a business, what are you looking for, particularly when it comes to how companies manage their expenses, how they approach it? And let me add one more, what mistakes they make.
Sure. I think when we're looking at businesses, and maybe to give you an idea of the types of businesses that we look at, these are single-founded businesses. So they are solo, founders. They're walking a very difficult journey, and it's a long journey. And there's a lot of lessons that they have to go through before they can even have a business that can stand and be viable. So we don't focus a lot on the history in terms of previous performance, because to be honest, there isn't a lot of performance. If you're looking at a business that started in 2020, your months that you're monitoring are not that much. If you compare to private equity, we've got 5 years of trading history. So we focus on the future. That's the first part that we look at. Are we solving a real problem? And is the solution geared towards solving that problem? And how can we do it better? So that's the first part that we look at. And when you're looking at your expenses, one of the things we've noticed, especially for early stage businesses, is that they spend a lot of capital upfront trying to build the perfect product. What they should be doing is building it in iterations, starting small, testing in your market, using those lessons to then flesh out a fully functioning system. So that's the first part that we see when we're looking at what they've spent their capital on. It's always on technology.
That's such a simple lesson, but it's such an important one. Really, where do you find organizations fall asleep at the wheel?
I think organizations fall asleep at the wheel because they want to own everything in their own value chain. I think they don't look at themselves as an ecosystem of value offering. Typically, the clients we've been serving, they're quite bloated. And I think what COVID showed is that you can right size, but still operate and be lean. Companies who have got a lot of thick costs that they can't walk away from. They've got systems that have just bundled themselves that they can't be agile enough to adapt to digital age today. And I think it's just thinking to themselves, how can they leverage the ecosystem from various partners, which are very unrelated to their core offering, but would help them grow and actually minimize their overheads. Specifically what I mean about that, you have companies who want to design and customize all the solutions internally. When there's a digital offering, you can get it off the shelf and white label it. And I think clients are starting to become more open to that. And as Nonku mentioned, getting that proof point in the market that this is actually something that can build traction, and then slowly partnering, building, and then building it in-house.
Are you a fan of more outsourcing then?
I'm a big fan of outsourcing. I think you need to leverage the network. I think that's something we entrepreneurs and businesses don't leverage a lot. I think outsourcing, we found, especially in our own business, to scale, you don't necessarily need to employ people to have your website running, or to have your marketing back end running, or your business development, or even your people on the ground. You can outsource, gradually build confidence with your clients, and then start to insource.
As you said, it can be a very lonely business sometimes, particularly if you're outsourcing everything. Do you need an accountant?
I think you do need an accountant. Whether you need an accountant in-house is debatable, right? But you need to understand your numbers, because you can have an accountant in-house and an accountant outsourced and still don't understand what they're producing. So you need to have a level of understanding what the output looks like to be able to probe whether it's correct and also understand where your business is going. So understanding your numbers, I think, is the first key for any entrepreneur, whether you are someone who's a creative or a business person and you're not necessarily the focus on the numbers.
Don't abrogate all the responsibility either.
Yes.
If you're going to do this, you've got to have a fundamental understanding of the basics of a balance sheet.
Exactly.
Let's work through some other places where you could be able to, where you could save money to outsource. We've looked at outsourcing. I was going to say office space, but the reality is the COVID-19 pandemic has completely shifted the paradigm. I mean, the fact is that we're sitting here in office space is unusual for many of us.
True. I think you need to think around what is important for your business to have credibility and for you to operate. I think in this day and age, it's only manufacturing that only really needs to have office space. Fortunately, pre-COVID, we did have office space, but we didn't pay for it. And still today, we're not paying for it. We're being incubated an ESD partner of a much larger consulting firm. And we took the decision that we want to have office space because we can have intimate conversations with our clients, but it gives us some level of credibility as a small business. But we found a smart way not to pay for it while still still having some property. I think working from home has shown that you don't really need the office space, but you need, let's call it some sort of an entity or a face for the business. So if you don't have office space, you should have a good website.
All right, so when it comes to saving money, we've spoken about the accountant, we've spoken about office space, we've spoken about outsourcing. But let me suggest to you the most important aspect of this segment of the conversation is pricing.